Hello, friends, and welcome into another NC Family Update for this week, ending on July the 18th, Friday, July the 18th, standing in for John today. Our intern this summer, Tucker Young, the younger and not better looking replacement stand-in for John Rustin, our president, alongside our counsel, Jerry Royal. I'm Mitch, and we want to jump right into it today with a lot of important information, some local, some statewide. But let's first go to a story out of West Virginia, Jerry. The Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals on Tuesday of this week, on July the 15th, ruled in a case that we've been paying attention to for some time, along with our allies at ADF and National Right to Life, have been paying attention to in regard to the use of Mifepristone in the state of West Virginia, and now, by de facto, possibly in states across the country who have passed pro-life bills. What do we need to know about this case? You're the legal expert. What do we need to know about preemption? Because that seemed to be a key word in this case.
And legal expert is,
Oh, don't be bashful.
Being an expert means you realize it's hard to figure out what the court actually
right.
said.
That's right.
Although in this case, I think the court was very clear. And it's very refreshing because I think everybody's concerned when you see courts make decisions that don't necessarily look to the law, whether it's statutory law or case law, and they say, well, this is where we need to go. In this case, the judge clearly said the Dobbs decision by the U.S. Supreme Court said that we are returning the issue of abortion to the elected representatives, whether it's on the state level or Congress on the federal level. And this judge said this state has made a law. It's their authority to do that. That's what's happened. Now, the argument in the case by the drug manufacturer was that the FDA regulations relating to this drug would preempt, as you say, that this is a federal agency. And the judge said, if that was the intent of Congress, Congress needed to tell us that that's what was going on here. They said, no, Congress said we're returning this issue to elected representatives. Therefore, the state of West Virginia has the right and authority to make this law.
This is Judge Wilkerson's quote. He wrote the majority opinion for the court. He said, for us to once again federalize the issue of abortion without a clear directive from Congress right on the heels of the Dobbs decision would leave us one small step short of defiance. That's a significant quote by the judge. I love what the West Virginia governor, who was the attorney general at the time this case was argued before the court, Patrick Morrissey said, big win. I love the way he starts that sentence. Big win out of the Fourth Circuit today. I defended this law as Attorney General and am proud to see a victory in this case. West Virginia can continue to enforce our pro-life laws and lead the nation in our efforts to protect life. We will always be a pro-life state. So, encouraging story. Right. This story is still developing. Of course, we know how these things work their way through the court. Whether or not this is appealed, if it goes to the Supreme Court, we're not quite sure yet, but we will let you know how this progresses and what you need to know about that. Tucker, any thoughts on this case?
It's a good case.
It's a good case.
It's a good case.
As Governor said, a big win.
A quick side note, an encouragement to North Carolina and other states, we need to move more and more into this direction of protecting at starting conception. And that's what laws like this can do and should do. So they've set a good example, and this has made it clear, yes, the authority is there for states to do this.
Absolutely. Tucker, you've been at the building. The building is code for the legislative building, the General Assembly. This past session, not this past, it's still the session going on. We don't have an adjournment resolution quite yet. What's been your experience so far with the legislative process, being in the building several of those days?
Well, it's been really interesting to kind of be down at the building and see all of the debate and votes, and especially there's kind of questions about whether we'll get a budget. It's been interesting to see all the different opinions and resolutions that the chambers have.
You said something very good there. When they come back, if they come back, the budget. Right now, the state currently does not have a budget. The fiscal year ended on June the 30th, so we're operating on a continuing budget from previous years. Jerry, what's been your experience when we are in this? This isn't the first time we've been in this situation, and the state hasn't shut down. You know, the government is still operating. What has been your experience when it comes to the legislative process and budgets and not having a budget?
Right. And you make an excellent point. North Carolina is different from the federal situation where you literally can have things shut down
Right.
if you don't have a budget. In North Carolina, as you say, they continue with the previous budget. However, there are obviously new needs, there are adjustments
Right.
that need to be made, and they actually have made some, primarily as it relates to Western North Carolina. People realized we can't wait until a budget is passed. There are severe, serious needs that need to be met immediately. So they've been doing that to a degree, and they're continuing to work on Western North Carolina. But the rest of the budget right now, as you say, they haven't reached an agreement. What has happened in the past is they typically run August, September, October, sometimes November, and they eventually will have a big budget.
A big budget,
But
in the interim,
in the few cases, they have passed what they call mini
budgets. Tiny little
where
budgets.
they say, okay, we can agree on this particular area, so let's pass this much of a budget. And so that there's, like you say, speculation. Will they eventually be able to pass a big budget? Right now, I mean, I think we're all hearing different things.
Right.
But primarily hearing maybe in the interim, they will at least start passing some smaller budget proposals.
And some have even argued that while it may not have been the intent, it may actually not be a terrible thing that we don't have a budget with the one big beautiful bill and all that's come to the states from that and how that's going to look. Now legislators will have the opportunity to work with a new set of parameters. I'm not quite sure. I know this. They're going to come back. They're going to do some work. And hopefully we'll get a good, sound, fiscally conservative budget out of that process. So we'll look forward to seeing more from that process. Tucker, you good at math?
I am.
You are good at math.
I think
You're
so.
wondering why in the world I asked that question, because math is important. We've said it on this our show before. Math are a good thing. Sometimes English is too. Veto overrides include being able to do math specifically on what votes are needed in order to override the governor's veto. Two that we've talked to you about on this update video are HB 805, which is a multifaceted pro-family bill, and SB 227, which is DEI in public schools. Let's first really quickly talk about 805 and what that looks like as it goes through this process of potentially seeing an override vote based on the governor's veto.
All right. Well, that bill started out dealing with sexual exploitation.
Yes.
As far as pornography on the internet, and there was unanimous support. And some other provisions were added to this bill when it went from one chamber over to the other. One as it relates to defining male and female in state law. Another one as far as parental rights in public education. Other aspects were added, and so that unanimous vote changed. And as you say, right now, the math that we're talking about, to override a veto, it has to be 3/5 of the members present and voting. So that's why you say counting is critical right now. And when they're coming back in town, members have conflicts and things, so they're having to look at how many people are here, how many people are going to be voting for an override, and that's why sometimes these overrides can go on and on as far as the potential for the vote. They'll put it on the calendar, look and see, not enough people here today, or the votes aren't there, so it gets moved to another day.
Sometimes there's a little bit of 3D chess involved in this. Tucker, you've watched this bill go through the process. What do you like about the bill as it currently sits before, as the governor vetoed it, it sits back before the General Assembly? What's been your impression of the bill? What do you like about it?
Yeah, there's been some really important provisions. I mean, obviously, as Jerry said, the Prevention Against Sexual Exploitation was pretty unanimous. And then these other kind of later provisions, to define male and female with biological sex. Those, that's really important to be put in the state law to make sure that we're identifying with biological
So we
sex.
actually know what a man and a woman are.
Yeah,
That would be really important.
Yeah.
DEI in public schools, SB 227. There's been a lot of work on this, a lot of debate back and forth. I think the key points from this is that it mentions the elimination of discriminatory practices and divisive concepts, mainly based on race, sex, and as the bill states, some other factors that are concerned there. That has been vetoed along with two other bills that mention DEI, one in higher education, the other in government agencies. All three of those bills have been vetoed. Once again, I think the math here, the math's going to have to math in order for them to get the votes to override the governor's veto. Let's quickly, before we wrap the video today, talk about some of the bills or ideas that we still want to see kind of move forward in the days, weeks, and possibly even months ahead. Some of these bills crossed over. Some of these ideas were inserted into one or the other versions of the budget. Protecting North Carolinians from hemp, marijuana, cannabis, all of the above. Right. We believe this is a pretty important thing, Jerry.
Yeah. There have been numerous bills addressing the issue. Everybody's concerned. Some of them have been addressed to the point of saying not allow any of these substances in schools. Some of them are addressing what's actually being sold, saying these things need to be eliminated from the market. Some people's approach is we have to be 21 or over. And of course, like you say, coming back to our approach and what we hope the government approach is, we're looking at what's harmful to people. If they're harmful, they shouldn't be on the shelves at all.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of problematic substances, not tested, not FDA regulated. A lot of them knows what's in them, what they are, and something needs to be done. But right now, the House and the Senate have different ideas and different approaches. They've each passed significantly different legislation. And that's where, as we started talking about, trying to come together and find what is the right solution to this situation.
Absolutely. Tucker, you and I have talked a lot about what that looks like, and if it's not good for the 16 or the 18-year-old, it's probably not good for the 21 or 42-year-old either. These things just aren't good for people in general. They don't do good things. Social media protections for minors. We've watched that kind of walk through the process. It did cross over from the House to the Senate. It was also inserted into the budget. What would be the benefit for children and parents from this kind of idea?
So we've mentioned actually House Bill 959 was signed by the governor, which was a really important development to kind of expand social media literacy is what they were calling it. This bill would actually ensure protections so that children 14 and under can actually have accounts and with social media platforms, and that 14 and 15-year-olds have to have those accounts approved with parental consent. So it's a really important provision, and as you said, it was included in the House budget.
The sponsor of this bill, the author of this bill, talked about it being a backstop for parents to help them make those decisions and give them the support they need. I think this ultimately lies in the hands of parents. As we've said over and over again, the people who parent children best are parents. And so this bill or this idea would help parents out. Jerry, anything on social media protections for minors?
Well, again, it's good they're addressing this because we know how prevalent all of this is, but now more and more information is coming into light about the harm that it's causing, which again, talking about these others, we were talking about substances, now we're talking about mental health, what's happening to young people and even older people as it relates to social media, and we're realizing something needs to be done to try to address this. And again, hopefully they will reach the right conclusion and take action, because otherwise, sadly, what happens sometimes when there's no agreement, nothing happens. And that's not good. That's not where we want this to end.
I'm old enough to remember when Facebook, Facebook, was something that you did to connect with your old high school buddies and that sort of thing. So it's not quite that anymore. It could be that, but it's used for a lot more harmful things, especially when it comes to children. One more that we'll give you is the Parental Medical Bill of Rights. I think this is extremely important for parents to know what's going on in the life of their child when it comes to their medical records, their medical history, that sort of thing. There have been some carve-outs, some provisions, age restrictions on this. Jerry, as we close out the video, what would be helpful for parents from this idea, a bill like this, if it were to pass?
Yeah. Well, and I know we've mentioned this before. This was a law that was passed over 50 years ago. Nobody can tell us why it was put into law. But basically what it did allowed minors to consent to a lot of different medical treatments. And I guess a lot of them problematic, but the mental health is one. Like a child can consent, parent never knows, something's happening in the schools as far as meeting with counselors. So parents, obviously, they're the ones who want and need to be there to walk along with their children if there are issues like mental health. So what this would do, basically would do away with that law that allows minors to consent to various medical treatments. Yeah.
Tucker,
And it's passed, again, it's one of these things that pass one chamber, and sometimes for various reasons, they don't move again.
Sure.
Hopefully this one, it's eligible. Hopefully it will be brought up.
Hopefully it'll get to the governor's desk and the governor will sign it, and it will help parents help parent their children. Tucker, you've been a valuable asset to our team this summer. We're so grateful that you've been a part of us, and you're not going away just yet. But I did want to publicly thank you for what you've done for our team. He's just been an outstanding asset and a wonderful guy to be around. He unfortunately had to hang out with me a lot in the General Assembly building this year. So thank you, Tucker. Jerry, thank you. And John, when you watch this, thank you. And the rest of our team at NC Family, we are grateful for you as well. And we're thankful for you. If you're watching this right now, thank you so much for all that you do to make the state of North Carolina a state where God is honored, religious freedom flourishes, families thrive, and life is cherished. If you're not quite on our team just yet, but would like to be, you can subscribe to our emails and action alerts, those kinds of things. You can go to our website at ncfamily.org, and you can learn more there, sign up for those things. And if the Lord leads you to do so, you can go to the top right corner of that website, click the donate button, and partner with us by aligning with what we do and financially giving to our work. Once again, thank you so much for watching this update video. We hope that you have a great week and weekend. For me, Mitch, Jerry, Tucker, and the rest of our team, God bless you and goodbye.